Hey there, comic friends. I'm Travis. It's Comic Roundtable. Yay! And of course, as always, I have with me my my comic book reading friends, Rez Reads and Sergeant America. Mike, how's it going? We're doing well now. Yeah.
Doing well, yeah. Boom! I'm here.
Awesome. Boom.
Good.
We're all excited. We're all distracted too. Everybody's got something going on off screen. So
I think I figured my my catchphrase, kapow.
Yeah. Kapow.
Yeah.
Like, you got to deliver it with a karate chopper though, or something.
I know, right?
Either that or pull out a really big gun while you do it. Something like that.
Katana, like was shown.
There you go. There you are. There you are. Oh, Mike's got lighting now.
Yeah, that was my signal. I have my director, aka the wife, just
Nice.
blasting me. So yeah.
Nice. So about half an hour into this, you'll be blind from having the
pretty much
spotlight
so.
on you.
Yeah.
Right on. So we flipped the imaginary coin. We came up with DC, so we're gonna talk DC first. Right off the bat, I know typically we talk news at the end, talk a little bit of news at the beginning. Of course, I think we all heard today that the passing of Adam West, the original Batman on the small screen, I guess, as opposed to the big screen. But certainly for me, my first exposure to Batman, I don't think I recognized Batman on the racks until I saw that ridiculous TV show from the 60s, which was clearly well into reruns. I'm old. I'm not that old, but yeah, kind of a shame. Either of you ever meet Adam West?
No.
No.
Nicest guy.
My family guy. Loved my family guy.
Yeah, nicest guy. Kind of local to where I live, is where he lives and whatnot. So frequents a business that I frequent. So nice guy. But so shame that he's gone. But of course, we still have the body of his work and whatnot. And like I said, if you run into just about anybody, I have never seen anybody say that he was awful. I mean, he loved his fans. So that's always awesome if you're a pop, and he really was, right? I mean, his Batman is the pop icon, version of Batman, clearly. Best answer, right? So
yeah.
So yeah, a shame that he's gone, but we can still appreciate those shows and stuff because they finally put them all out on DVD, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
I know there was a big brouhaha for the longest time when Fox or somebody had control of them, wasn't going to give them up unless they got some of their deal or something. Some backroom thing got all those put out. So I don't own them yet, but at some point I will. At any rate, let's talk some books. So we start out by talking the book we all got.
Yeah.
Some Flintstones.
Yeah.
Issue 12, Farewell Bedrock. What do you think?
Oh, this series has just been so good, and it ended just the way I wanted it to. I mean, it definitely had the best ending on a book that I've seen in at least a year.
Okay. Rez, what do you think?
I agree. I wrote some notes.
Awesome.
So, first note was cried at ending.
Oh.
Cried at ending. I also wrote Rock and Run Free. Love that reference. That was pretty cute. I loved the alien from last issue dealing with a moral quandary. I love to use that word, so I had to make sure I wrote that in my notes. A moral quandary on why he decided to save the humans, and also saying the humans, we're using an analogy saying that the humans are like babies and they're going through trouble twos, and that hopefully he feels like maybe he's giving them opportunity to grow those hard times and see the error of their ways, how they can cause destruction and grow from that. So I really love the analogy of that. I also love the whole friction between if science is real, the basis of science is real, and whether the basis of religion is real. It really, I mean, what I loved about this is it doesn't really poke too much fun at religion nor at science. So like, it's like you could believe in what you want to believe in, but it doesn't make you feel like what you believe in is stupid. I loved how they worded it. I loved how Russell wrote that, you know, none of it really has any sound, concrete proof behind either. You know, it's just you trying to believe or trying to dig and find the truth somehow, and then, you know, I guess having this need fulfilled in a way. You know, so I really like that. I like that a lot. And then lastly, I really loved when Pebbles was asking about Gerald, you know, how was women made, and you know, because they were saying that Gerald made man from, you know, mud, and women were made from the rib, and she made the comment, well, that's unsatisfactory, and I was like, that's so me. I would say the same thing. So yeah,
Yes.
loved it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. You know, I mean, they do this. You're right. They do a great job of kind of discussing religion without completely tearing it down. You know, but clearly is some, you know, and when I say religion, it's, you know, Gerald is clearly God. It's clearly Christianity is what they're talking here in particular with the whole rib thing. And then that rib thing kind of plays through the rest of the book, because what is the women's bowling team called? Aren't they called like this?
Rib.
Yep.
The spare rib. And,
Yep.
and I absolutely love that little stuff that's all the way through the book is some pretty great stuff. We get a little bit of growth out of Mr. Slade, which was kind of shocking.
Yep.
You know, it's like, because I mean, he puts all this pressure on Fred. They have to win the bowling tournament. He has to beat, Slade has to beat the ex-girlfriend. And then Fred will get to be a foreman, kind of thing. Of course, that's like Fred's dream, is to be the foreman. They lose because, of course, the armadillo, the bowling ball is finally decided.
Ball got
Rooted out. The rooted out. Armadillo.
Yeah. That was
Yes,
awesome. Yes.
Yeah, the bowling ball finally gets his revenge, and they lose. But Slade comes around and still makes him foreman, because at the end of the day, he still needs the decent worker to do the decent job. That's kind of where it is and whatnot. My only thing is, where are the lizard people, man? I kind of wanted a final lizard people sighting, and I looked in the crowd shot thinking, well, maybe there's gonna be a lizard person back. I couldn't find one back there either, but all kinds of other weird.
I think the lizard people may have just totally been made up. I think it was the idea that we create certain villains so that we can focus away from all of our real problems by creating a tangible problem.
Oh, see, now I would like that. I like that. If that's the case, if they aren't even real, if it was just kind of something they just kind of mocked up to get people excited to spend money, that's awesome. I like that too. Yeah. I mean, I don't like the ending solely because I hate it when books I like end. So
I understand. But I was thinking the last one I enjoyed was probably the Bizarro fun one that we read, the 6th issue. So, I mean, we've had a couple other books kind of end on a bad note. So I kind of really felt that I needed this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was definitely one of my favorite books of this week for sure.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, sad it's gone. I mean, I'm looking forward to the Snagglepuss. Try not to put too much on that comic, because that's the next comic that he's, that Russell is writing. So I'm kind of excited to see how he plays with, social stuff. But I'm gonna dearly miss this book just because of its kind of, besides the funny stuff that has to do with it, the social kind of commentary that always goes on in the book. So yeah, that's gonna be, I'm gonna miss that, because there isn't another comic book that's delivering it the same way as what this is, for sure. So
and I don't know what Steve Puh is doing next, the artist. I'd be interested to see where he goes.
Yeah, his style is excellent for this book. It really was.
Spot on.
And anybody who has not read any of this, it's not drawn like the cartoon. It's not quote unquote cartoony as some of us like to say about stuff that looks a little more along the animated style. No, I mean it's excellent.
It's close to what the cover is, because I think he did the cover. So.
No, Paquette did the cover of this.
Cover, yeah. I made sure to notate that, because I was really, really happy about that. I like Paquette's style.
Yeah, but it's.
Yeah, I guess when you see art like this with the bowling, it was very good, I thought.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's it's clearly the Flintstones, but still, I mean, that's excellent art. That's nothing to.
I'm getting it a hardcover. As soon as they put in a hardcover, I'm getting it.
Yeah, yeah. I will probably, when I hit the cons I hit or whatever, I'll look for the single issues that I'm missing. And I know I'll at least pick up the other trade because I got the first trade. That's I got it because I didn't jump on it right away. If nothing else, so yet again, it's gonna be one of those books when somebody goes, "Yeah, I don't really read comics, and I'm not interested." That's another comic I'm gonna throw at them to go, "No, here's this." And even if they tell me they hated the Flintstones as a kid, I'm still gonna go, "No, you gotta read this."
Because I was not a big fan of the Flintstones as a child. I remember seeing it, and there was tons of them that I'd rather watch rather than the Flintstones. So it was me being able to flip through it on the comic book wall, and then once I saw it, I had to preach it. So
yeah.
We're in love with it. We're all in love.
And I didn't have a problem with Flintstones as a kid because I come from the era where there weren't really that many cartoons. So any cartoon was a good cartoon. So yeah. But I never watched it with any thought to really anything that it might have been saying. And then like I said, so then for then to take that setting and then really just kind of question all the stuff that is part of at least an American functioning society, and kind of question it and kind of put a different light on it to give you a chance as a reader to look and ponder that kind of stuff. So yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Okay. Any other DC books to talk about? I've got a few that I'm going to talk about.
Okay.
We're going to talk about Shade.
Yep, Shade. Shade the Changing Girl. I really like the
Sonic Booms.
That's a really nice cover.
Yeah. So the premise basically is in this issue, she's hanging out in Gotham. She hears the Sonic Booms are going to be playing. The Sonic Booms are like her favorite Earth band. So she's all excited to go. They're an Earth band that played on
Life with Honey.
Life with Honey, which is a show from the 1950s that's kind of pro, the atomic bomb and energy and all that kind of stuff. And so she shows up. She's all excited. There's all these older people there, and she's all, I love this band, whatnot. And they're like, wow, it's kind of crazy that this young person's into this old band and whatnot. And she's buying all the merchandise. Of course, the band comes out to play, and they're all a bunch of old geezers. I mean, because it's the same band, they've gotten old. It's like it's kind of like a nostalgia thing. And she's like, who the hell are these guys, and where's the real band? Where are the real Sonic Booms? And that's what people kind of she freaks out, and people kind of get it into her head that was from decades ago. It's 2017, and those guys were playing in the 1950s. So they're all 50 years older, kind of a thing. So hilarity ensues from there because she kind of buys into the whole, see them through the lens of nostalgia. So she literally makes everybody in the club younger. So everybody goes back to be teenagers. The band's back to being, with her madness stuff. Yeah. What'd you think, Chris?
I really, really like this issue. I like seeing her turn into people into teenagers and then go on her her very adventurous, search for the actress who plays Honey because ill from old age.
Right.
Now she wants to go find her and turn her young again too. For what reason? Really, it's not really explained. It's just that we know she really is fond of that actor. The actress because of the fact that it was one of her favorite Earth shows and took her way out of her element. We also see where Lupic is still being tortured by that director,
right.
And she somehow sent his aura to go find her, search for her, but he warned her somehow because he's still in love with her. So we see that he's still anguished with his love for her, for Loma. And she's still unaware of what's going on, how much trouble she's got him into, how much trouble she herself is into. Her body's encapsulated within this one crystal box, and she's in the custody right now. That crazy director who is taken over by the madness. She's trying to use madness as contagion somehow to, I guess, get some kind of means of power of some sort. I don't know, but I'm really enjoying this comic. This felt a little more relaxed than usual, and felt as intense as prior issues. Like, and it felt like I needed to read it because it felt like filler, but I did enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, there were little things that moved the bigger plot line along in this, some of the Lupik stuff and the whole them using kind of this strand of madness to try and race to where she's at on Earth. They want to use the meta vest and something about Earth to gain, for, like you were saying, to gain the sorcerer power. So there was a little bit of that in there, but you're right. There was a lot of just this kind of meandering, which is what she's kind of doing right now. Whereas like those first, like, I don't know, I want to say like 6 issues were so focused on her, is she Megan? Is she not Megan? Dealing with her peers and the whole kind of what happened to Megan, what happened to her body to put, to make the body open for her to use it. That was so intense. And this just feels kind of freewheeling kind of a thing. What do you think about the poetry that's kind of written along with it? Is that her poetry that she's writing, or is that like Rock, the original Shay the Changing Man? Is that some of his words there? I'm talking about, you're reading it. There were those her narration bubbles are in blue with her thinking, and then there's this kind of, I want to call it poetry. I mean, it's not totally poetic, but it's kind of a, it's not straightforward. It's not straightforward narration. It's
insights and stuff, and
yeah, but it's all kind of crazy colored. So I'm assuming it's either, because I think that's been colored that way before when she was reading the original Shay the Changing Man's poetry.
Yeah, I honestly, I feel like it was nods. It was nods at the prior okay. Changing Man, from what I read.
Right, because to some degree, this issue is closer to the original Shay the Changing, well, not the original, the second volume of Shay the Changing Man, the one that was part of the Vertigo title. Right, where Shay is just kind of roaming across the United States, kind of getting into stuff. And that's kind of what she's doing here. She's doing it in Gotham, but she's just kind of rolling with stuff.
Yeah, it does get close to that one. It really does. Of course, I'm partial. I'm a huge Premier Logan fan, so nothing really can go in direction for me, but I do appreciate it, and I love it. It's one of my favorite DC Young Animal books for sure. It was meandering in a lot of ways. I honestly feel like, compared to other issues, if I didn't read this one, I feel like I missed out on so much information.
Right.
Next issue where we're gonna see her with Honey somehow, whether it be brief encounter or not. And so, will we really have needed to read this issue? Yeah.
Well, yeah, definitely. I'm curious to see what's next when she meets her idol, her Earth idol, Honey. And
lady.
Yeah. Right. Or a completely nothing like, the 1950s, housewife living in, the equivalent of some atomic city kind of a thing. So yeah, it'll be interesting. To see how that plays out for sure. Yeah. All righty. Let's see. Quickly touch a little bit on Superman issue number 24. We're getting, I'm about the middle to the end of the whole Black Dawn storyline. So I finally got, this issue kind of cements kind of what's going on. More so, I mean, I'm not sure if you're completely have no idea who the characters are. It might be a little harder because this has the Elite in it, and I kind of remember them. I know they're in like one of the animated things, right?
Yeah,
which I haven't watched yet. When I first jumped back into comics and reading Justice League, there was an arc that had them in it. This has a guy by the name of Black in it, and he's like a uber telepath of some sort. And at some point, clearly, him and Superman have had a past. We find out that the whole town is have been rescued by Black, they're all actually aliens that were on this ship being attacked by some other alien life form, and he kind of rescued them and kind of ported them to this place out in the middle of nowhere. And they've been walking around in the guise as humans all this time. So the neighbor, which now makes a certain amount of sense, because of course the neighbor that had the dairy farm next to the Clark's house, next to the Clark's barn, and the girl, she never really freaked out like when Superboy would do some of his superpowers. She would question it, but she never really oh my, like you'd expect a kid might do. Well, it's because she's an alien herself. So I'm, to some degree, it's kind of like, okay, that's your thing. This is my thing. But they all get exposed. They all get exposed as being this stuff right now. He's been using them to slowly build up power. He was going to just go and attack Superman when he got back to Earth, but he found out that Superman was married, has a kid. And, when you're a really evil bad guy, you don't go after the main person. You go after, the kids, right? Because that's the thing to do. Yeah. So he's corrupting John. What he's doing is he's using his telepathy and telekinesis to reopen certain parts of John's brain to make him more powerful, because he really should be the more powerful Superman because he's a hybrid. Batman's even said it. By all DNA, blah blah blah, he should really be more powerful. His power should be stronger and bigger and better than yours are, and they haven't yet. We don't know why. Well, Manchester Black is going to make that happen. He ends up basically having kind of control over Superboy, and by the end of this issue, he literally Superboy's eyes go all black, and he's I'm going to kill Dad. Him and some of the other aliens are coming to wipe out Superman. So it's Superman, Batman, Damian, and Lois. No, Lois is in the hospital. But them versus Manchester Black, Superboy, and some of the other alien bad guys.
I don't understand why the human part would make him stronger than Superman, though. That seems like what would water it down.
Right. They haven't gone into exactly why that is.
Okay.
Why that would make him stronger. But everybody now has basically said, he should be more developed, and stronger than what he is. Oh, I guess right. Frankenstein and Madam Frankenstein are also on Superman's team. So it could be a fun issue, next issue, just for the Rock'em and Sock'em superhero antics that go on in that, with those characters involved in a fight, could be some fun. But I'm enjoying this. This started out with, I wasn't quite sure exactly what was going on, but it's been fun otherwise. Really still like the art. This issue was mostly Mankey's art with Gray doing the inks on it, but there was a little bit of Gleason art mixed in amongst it too. But it wasn't jarring. But yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I'm liking I'm like, here you go, kind of a shot of the team Superman, basically. And
I am so happy they're using Frankenstein and his bride.
Yeah, and there's team Manchester Black with the evil Superboy now and whatnot. But it's I'm back on. I'm enjoying it for a while there. I'm enjoying this, I guess, partially also because it's so fast paced right now. I don't have time to see Superman, the Superman that's kind of strange to me now, because of course this is like a mix of all of the Supermen all in one guy, and he's just seemed kind of strange since the whole Reborn thing. So because it's been so busy, there hasn't been time for me to go, well, that just seems kind of weird. So enjoying it.
You just wait. Superboy Prime's going to punch him into 3 different people.
Well, I'm still waiting for Superboy Prime to be the bad guy for the whole big thing that happens with the Doomsday Clock shield thing and whatnot. So I hope that isn't the case, but part of me wonders. Look at the comments. Charlie's telling us that, hey guys, Manchester Black and the Elite first showed up at Action Comics 775. Oh. So there we go. So they've been around for a while. I know. I personally have not read a lot of stuff with him in it. I've just seen bits and pieces of that. So yeah. Spinning from there, a little bit of Nightwing. Chances are I'm done with Nightwing. This is the beginning of a new arc. Wasn't really that interested in it. It's got Blockbuster in it, which is a character I'm not particularly have any real opinion one way or the other about. Dick Grayson is trying to find kind of his place in Bloodhaven. You have to have kind of a normal life, so he's not 24 hours super hero, because he has this girlfriend now and kind of wants to have some piece of a normal life, but he keeps coming up with excuses as to why he should just be Nightwing full time. Because there's all this stuff is happening. Somebody's moving extra fancy firearms into the city, so he's got to take care of that, and yeah, so there's something going on with that. Tiger Shark is in this, which is another villain that's right from this particular era of Dick Grayson being Batman, and the whole when he was teamed up with Robin. So basically, other than like the opening arcs of Nightwing, like through issue 9 or 12 maybe, that had that Raptor character in it, which was a new character, they have literally been retreading a group of villains that were all encountered in either in Grant Morrison's original run of Batman and Robin, or a piece of Scott Snyder's Detective Comics when Robin was Batman. So it's this really focused like 2 or 3 years, and that's what all the villains have been up to this point, other than them adding Blockbuster in it. But the main villain in this isn't. So I don't know. It feels like they're treading too close to stuff I've just read. I mean, I get the idea of the whole Rebirth is fixing some of the New 52 where they chopped everything away and said there's only been superheroes for 5 years, and so they're reintroducing all of the universe back in with the Rebirth stuff. But there's still way more stuff to look at than just that, what seems like 3 years worth of stuff. So I don't want to keep reading stories about that. I mean, I know that's kind of what superhero comics are about, right? I mean, how often does Batman fight the same 5 guys? A lot. I get that, but it just seems too soon in some sense. And the stories don't seem that different. So it feels more like a retelling as opposed to we're going to use these characters and do something different with them. So,
and Nightwing is twice a month, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So I think that's the wearing thing too, is you're getting 2 of these every month of the same one. Well,
right.
If you love it, yeah, it's great. But if you're waiting for the next thing, oh yeah, I mean, it's just compounding it.
Right.
Which you, Longbox, and Damien, when you guys were talking about it on Longbox's show, I thought that was great to hear about Rebirth and your guys' thoughts on that.
Yeah. That was a fun talk. But that's kind of where I'm at with it too. It's kind of like, okay,
yeah.
and really, Nightwing's like one of the worst. It feels to me like of just kind of hitting the same stuff. So, finally, the last DC book I want to talk about, of course, is the infamous. Everybody saw it. Unless you did not have the internet on Tuesday, as a matter of fact, the day before Comic Book Wednesday, USA Today runs, this big internet, ad and whatnot, talking about this book with the huge damn spoiler stuck in it. I dodged the spoiler for all of Tuesday, and then on Wednesday, a Twitter friend of mine posted that front page on theirs, and there's no spoiler warning for it. So me just looking at my feed, the spoiler page rolls up in my feed. So I don't care if there's spoilers out there, but at least have the decency to put it behind something. I mean, we, of course, here, maybe you say I'm being a hypocrite because, of course, here on the show, we lots of times spoil the hell out of stuff, but at least we're waiting until Saturday. And generally, if you've ever seen the show, that we wreck a lot, we'll spoil a lot of stuff. But damn it, on the day it's happening, doing that is rough. So, this issue was interesting in the fact that it's told in kind of in 2 stories with 2 artists on the book. Finch doing the main part of the book. It's Batman. And he's having a conversation with Gotham Girl. Gotham Girl's all healthy now. She's not crazy. And Gotham Girl's trying to decide what she's going to do with her life. She's asking Batman, what do I do? And Batman's basically, you know, I don't know, what do you want to do? And she's like, man, I really expected you to say, you know, leave superhero, because right now with the way her powers work, the more she uses her superpowers, it literally shortens her life. So I mean, if she were like to go, you know, 3 or 4 days straight of holding a building over her head, she would die because it shortens her life, kind of thing. And so she's like, man, I expected you to say, you know, get out of the business, whatever. So he literally repeats for her, okay, you know, stop, don't do this anymore, get out of this. She's like, no, that's not what I want to hear either, you know, kind of thing. So it's actually a pretty decent conversation. I actually really like this issue, you know, quite a bit. And anybody who watches the show knows I struggle with the whole Tom King Batman. But I really like this issue. I like that kind of back and forth between them. It's kind of like, you know, what makes you happy? I don't know. Then they get kind of, and then she kind of turns it on Batman. You know, what makes you happy? Why are you doing this? Why don't you stop to go do something else? You know, and he's basically got this kind of, you know, he kind of admits to the fact that he doesn't do what he does because he's arrogant and that sort of stuff. It's more that he's afraid. It's more that he's afraid that he's not going to accomplish what he needs to accomplish. And he can't be happy because he's afraid to be, you know, happy and stuff. And she decides that people put out enough energy to save her and make her whole again, that she's going to do the hero thing, at least for a while. And Batman's like, okay, well, I'm going to send you off to some people and have them teach you how to fight and stuff like that without using your powers. So when you don't really have to use them, you don't use them, you know, so that way you can live as long a life as you can. And she turns around on him and basically kind of gives him the, you know what, you need to go out and pursue some happiness in your life, kind of a thing. While that's going on, we get this kind of in between pages, we flip to Clay Mann's art, and it's a story of no, I take it back, reverse that. Clay Mann did all the stuff with Gotham Girl. The stuff with Catwoman is David Finch artwork. We get this kind of David Finch Batman story going along with them kind of running through the, you know, across the rooftops of Gotham, and you know, them having the strange cat and bat conversation that drives me crazy. I mean, the conversation I like, but I hate them calling each other cat and bat. That just drives me nuts. You know, they have a conversation about like the first time they met, and about a time when she had stole a diamond and he had bought the diamond back. You find out that he kind of knew what she was and who she was before she knew who even Bruce Wayne was, kind of a thing. And he's held on to the diamond this entire time for all the years they've been running around and doing all the other stuff they've been doing. He's had this diamond. I'm assuming he's made it into this diamond ring that he does. Spoiler, if you, like I said, if the internet didn't spoil it for you, he proposes to her at the end of the book. He gets down on one knee, doesn't say cat, calls her Celine, and asks her to marry her. And that's how it ends. Dun, dun, dun. And of course, now everybody's like, oh my gosh, is it going to happen? My first thought is though, just because he proposed to her, what makes anybody think that she would say yes? I mean, with the way Catwoman is and the way Celine is, I don't know. I don't know that she'd be like, oh, yes. You know, I mean, I'm guessing she breaks his heart and says no. I'm kind of hoping that's what happens. You know, the next question is, would DC allow Batman to get married? I suspect no. I don't think DC's got anything against marriage per se anymore, but I just have a hard time envisioning them allowing Batman to get married. And if they do get married, I feel really sorry for Catwoman, because you know something really tragic is going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Just because the way comics are.
And I just wonder, because I mean, they talked about growth of characters, and for me to believe that Batman to grow, he has to enter a whole new area that he hasn't before, and happiness with a wife would, I think, be the next step.
You know, and after my conversation this week, for anybody who hasn't seen it, you should really go check out Longbox Reviews channel. I'll try to remember to put a link down in the thing. We had a long discussion about Rebirth books and whatnot. We got on the whole Batman stuff and my issues with Batman not liking it. And Eric, Longbox Review, is not necessarily the biggest Batman fan per se. He has been liking King's Batman fan because he feels like it's a much more literary telling of Batman. So I've been kind of after having that conversation, I've been kind of replaying some of the stuff that I've read of this, and it's bothering me less. I mean, there's still moments that I just irritate the bejesus out of me. But I kind of think that he really is developing Batman. He's just doing it in what feels like a strange way. I'm just not used to seeing it. And so I want to believe, if this wasn't a corporate comic, but it was this character and all the history he has, I would want to believe that something real is going to come out of this in some way. This is going to be an emotional journey of some sort, because he is kind of portraying some vulnerability here, which I like. I like the fact that Batman hangs out with a bunch of superpowered people. Somehow he can toe the line, even though there's no reason he should be able to toe the line, along with Superman, but somehow he does. But at the same time, I want to see him be a human being too. You know what I mean? Yeah. And this issue has some of that vulnerability in it. And I like that. So if that's what we're going to explore, I'm not sure why it took 24 issues for us to get there. But I will enjoy that part of it. So I'm interested in those aspects, if that's what's going to happen. I just don't know. My brain though, I don't know. It's a hard time seeing.
It's understandable. Yeah. Because I was thinking about it, I did step away from Batman. I'm reading them now in trade. The one thing though that I was wondering, and if it wasn't for the show, I probably would have missed it. Because I was wondering, where's Damian in Batman's life? But there was the issue with the 3 Robins back, wasn't there?
Yeah.
So, he is involved, or he does exist. That was my first worry, that they just kind of pushed him out of continuity. But it does make me wonder, what does this mean to Damian? If Bruce, his dad, finds love in another woman, what does that do with their personal,
I would
relationship?
Right. I would love to see that story.
Yeah, and what is Selina as the stepmom interacting with little Damian? See, that's where King could make this book explode and be a payoff.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
For everybody who liked the Vision, for everybody who liked some of the other stuff that he did.
Yeah.
And maybe he had to pay his dues and do all the other I ams to get this.
Yeah. That would be cool. That would be cool. Well, that's just it. That's why I keep thinking that these stories, the more I'm thinking back on it now, that some of the stuff that we've been told is really the long haul. For us to get, we had to go through all that to have Gotham Girl damaged, to have her undamaged, for them to have this conversation that kind of puts Bruce in this frame of mind to be doing what he's doing now. To have this conversation about him being scared. That's a long ways to go to get there, but I like it. And I've always kind of said the reason I come on this thing, and there's lots of times I'm livid about how much I'm irritated by this book. But if I look at it, the long haul of it, this may all pay off. And then I will be going back and going, as much as that frustrated me, now all of that fits together really, really well. And I see where we needed a lot of that to get to here. Because I wouldn't want them to get from where we all see Batman to this point in a single issue. I would be frustrated, because then I'd be going, what? Because that's kind of how I was in the very first issue. The first thing that put me off on the Tom King version of Batman is him on that jet airplane, riding it like it's a wild horse, asking his dead mom and dad if this is a good death.
Yeah. To
me, is just stranger than strange. And from that point forward, it felt so weird to me that I've been struggling with the character all along. Kind of thing. But if I can look at this whole, now it's like, okay, so a lot of that moment still bugs me, by the way.
Yes.
But but some of this other stuff, we got this entertaining fight with Bane thing, but the overarching part of it was, we get this Gotham Girl character that's kind of has her own, clearly crippled with fear for like 6 issues. Now it's kind of reflecting some of that back and questioning back to Bruce / Batman and stuff. So I like that. I like those aspects. Looking at the comments, Luke is on Gotham Central, and he's saying, I'm hoping with the Batman thing that DC goes all in. Either they move forward with the marriage or make this where this is absolutely crushes Bruce. It's a possibility. Like I said, I'm also half expecting next issue for Catwoman to go, boy, you're fun to play around with, but nah, nobody's putting a ring on this hand. So I just, I don't know, because I'm not totally feeling this Catwoman either. Because we're not in the same place in their relationship that we were, like, if you'd been reading the Batman stuff during the after the Hush, the second Hush series, where Catwoman gets her heart stabbed and they have to use magic and a bunch of stuff to basically kind of save her. I mean, at that point, if Bruce would have asked her to marry, they would have been married. They would have been married and they'd have been having kids, kind of a thing. I mean, that's how tight their relationship was. I mean, Catwoman basically was, for all intents and purposes, a hero with some dark spots, and was kind of hand in hand with Batman all the time, kind of a thing. But I don't feel like their relationship's the same place here. It's much weirder, kind of a thing. So I don't know.
Well, and the one thing also I wonder now is, as a reader, do we have to read comics differently? Since we're getting twice a month, what is the expected arc, larger arc, storyline? I mean, if that's what we're looking at, is it takes 1.5 to 2 years to tell what used to take 3 or 4 months?
Yes and no. I mean, because there have been other stories in the past that are monthly books that you get the little pieces, and then at the end of it, if a writer is allowed, if creators are allowed to set on a book long enough to put all that stuff in play.
Yeah.
So in some way, the double ship is nice because in a year's period of time, he has gotten to put into play 2 years worth of material, right?
Yeah.
If it was a monthly comic. So there's pros and cons continuously. There's pros and cons to that whole thing. I like the idea of being able to fit 2 years worth of stories in the equivalent of me having taken a year to read it, kind of a thing. How that plays out in trades now, I have no idea what that feeling's like or whatnot. So
from reading Hoopla, it is really weird now because, like, I read Batman, the first one, and then you read Batman, the second one. Well, there's the Monsterman in the middle. So there is some things that are referenced. Yeah, and it's not in either of the trades. It's its own trade. And so that creates this gap of knowledge, this weird swing. And so it has been, I don't know, it's been a little disruptive because then I thought, well, I don't need to read it. And then I have to go back and read it. And then even then, it still feels like I'm missing issues in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. As far as that kind of thing goes and stuff. Yeah.
For people that only read trade, this is going to get weird for a lot of people.
Yeah, it could. Well, especially if those breaks and they drop bits and pieces out, so you're not reading. Yeah, you're not reading the entire collection. I guess you're reading stories. So,
yes.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's it for DC books that I actually got read. Any other DC news?
I did see on Legends of Tomorrow they're going to be bringing a character in who I believe used to be called Isis. So, which I was trying to think if that was tied into Shazam or if that was if she was a magical character and it was some of the magical stuff.
Huh.
Because the big talk is when they bring her character in, do you call her Isis with all of the terrorist connotations that have been adopted to it? So
yeah, I mean, there definitely was an Isis in.
And I was thinking
she must have come out during the 52, right? During that miniseries, because she was like the wife, the wife or the going-to-be wife of Black Adam, right?
That's what I thought. I mean, because I loosely collect some Shazam Black Adam, and I remember in one of them he's trying to bring her back.
Right.
And I don't know how that would tie in.
That was awesome. By the way, that was some awesome stories. That stuff right there. That was some good Jeff Johns.
All right.
But, yeah. Huh. Interesting. So, that's an interesting character to bring in.
Yeah, and that was the thing is I don't really watch Legends of Tomorrow, and I'm not a dedicated DC, so I don't know that much. So I let it slide, but it was a little bit of knowledge. It still bounced around the back of my head.
Yeah, I pretty much quit watching all of them. I mean, I'll watch them now on Netflix when I feel like it, kind of thing. I finally had to shut my DVR off because I was just getting too many of those shows built up, and nowhere I was ever going to get the time to watch them all. So,
well, and now that you can watch them a week after the last one airs,
right?
So then you can just watch the whole show. So
right, for sure. I can't think of any.
Yeah, I can't think right offhand.
Yeah, I don't know of any other particular DC news wise and whatnot. So, I'm gonna roll on to some Marvel books.
We could do that. Yeah.
Because Rez is just loving to talk about Marvel books.
And I don't even miss them. I don't even miss them.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you. So let me talk first, because I know you only got one, right? So first off, we'll talk about this. This is a book from the past, now in the future.
Yeah.
So it's Doctor Strange issue number 20. Last week I was on this show and I was showing you issue number 21. Did my comic distributor ship these out of order? No. The editors screwed something up. And so that's how come they got shipped the way they do. I absolutely love this cover. This is a Blatcho cover, the regular artist on the book for the Jason Aaron run. And this cover literally has everything that happened in the run on it. It's got the disgusting stuff he has to eat. It's got his, secretary down there. It's got the eyeball guys in it. It's got pretty much everything in it, which is a great cover. Anyway, so this issue really is the actual end of the Jason Aaron and Blatcho run of the book. Trying to remember exactly what the exact happenings are for. It starts out, there's a magic auction going on, and there's somebody selling a magic wand. A beagle shows up and grabs the wand. This wonderful shot of a beagle here. Runs up and grabs the wand and tells them to all back off, that he's taking it. He actually zaps people with his tail as they're trying to, as the beagle is stealing the magic wand. Lo and behold, the beagle actually is Doctor Strange. He was in magical disguise. Of course, he kisses some random girl because that's, one of the things that Doctor Strange does. And then he smashes this building. Of course, the narration of this, he's talking about the fact that, it used to be he would have just gone into this place and zapped him with some spells and it would all been great. But of course, magic has been depleted so bad, that these magic items are really important. That's why he's stealing the wand, because he doesn't want to get in the wrong hands. Jumps on this motorbike that's being driven by the librarian, the secretary, Zelma. They're racing away, about ready to escape, and one of the lava men shoots an arrow at him, and it stabs Doctor Strange, and he's poisoned. And he's poisoned by some dragon venom that is just like normal person, you'd be dead instantly. He struggles to survive. Also, Doctor Strange has zapped the inside of the motorcycle so it can fly, and it has some problems. They end up with a Bermuda Triangle, and of course, you know what happens when you're in the Marvel Universe? You end up with the Bermuda Triangle. You fall into Weird World. So they crash into Weird World. So now they're in Weird World. Doctor Strange is just this side of a coma. And so Zelma is walking around trying to find food. She's talking about all the things that she would love to hunt, but those things are hunting her, so she doesn't. So eating slugs and snails is what they're eating. Of course, these slugs and snails are the sizes of dogs, munching away on stuff. The lava men do track them down in Weird World. They go to fight him. She's been struggling, trying to figure out, only people who can cast spells are magicians and whatnot. She's been halfway attempting these spells. She pulls one off. She really doesn't know exactly what she's doing. She pulls off a spell. It seems to save Doctor Strange and seems to almost kill her. Doctor Strange wakes up, rescues them from Weird World, because he's one of the few people that can zap in and out of Weird World when he wants to, kind of thing. And she did a transference spell, and she took the poison that was him and gave it to her. And Doctor Strange and Wang are both kind of puzzled because she should be dead. And the reason she's not dead is they've been living in Weird World for months, and she'd be eating these magical snails and slugs. So it built up her tolerance to poison. So it was enough to keep her alive for a little while. Well, she's not going to survive. They have to do something. Doctor Strange decides he's going to do this thing, and Wong is like, if you do that, I'm leaving. I can't do this anymore. And he does. He leaves. Wong leaves. He's gone. He literally walks to the door and goes, I don't know what I'm going to do. I've always been a magic person. I guess it's time for me to finally live my life. Maybe get married, maybe have some kids, just live a normal life. I'm done with this. And he walks away. He's gone. Well, like the next page is basically as she seems fine. She's waking up. Boy, I'm hungry. And he's feeding her this nasty stuff that he has to eat. So basically, he's converted her insides to magic. He says, look, you'll get better over time, maybe. Hopefully we can fix you over time. But right now, this is the way I can save you. But while you're in this state, you can open up your third eye, and you're going to see what the real world's like. He takes her outside and forces her to open up her magic third eye. And, of course, she can see all the random stuff that Doctor Strange sees when they're walking the road. And she's like, well, if this is what I'm going to see, well, then you can. And then it cuts to like days later. Somebody's knocking on the door of Doctor Strange's place, and she walks up behind him going, hey, you don't want to knock on that door unless you're serious, because this guy, guaranteed, if you get hooked up with this guy, crazy stuff's going to happen. And the lady's like, oh, I'm serious. And she goes, oh, great. Come on in then. She's like, oh, you know him? He goes, well, not really, but I just, I talked to him at breakfast kind of thing. And so she is now Wong. She has taken his place as Wong is what it seems like.
That's kind of good. I kind of like that idea.
And that kind of roll off into the sunset. That's their new norm. Of course, right now in the current book, if we go back a week for issue number 21, it's all tied into your shenanigans, the Evil Empire shenanigans. So,
yeah, the shenanigans.
I liked this issue. It was a good end to their run. Yeah, I'd be happy to stop here. I am going to see kind of what is next, because I do like some of the creators that are on that. So get past the tie-ins and see what I get for a book.
And
I like the character. I like the character.
Yeah. And I forget about Weird World. It seems like it's one of those things that is just sitting there when they want to use something different. But for a while there, they tried to force it. Like the Avengers went in there after Black Knight, and it's just like, no, Weird World by itself was a good book. Don't force it. It makes sense with Doctor Strange, but I don't know.
Well, and Jason Aaron is the one that was writing it, right? When it first came out again, right? It was him that was doing it.
Yep.
Yeah. I think he's got a little better sense of how to use it, maybe too. So
yeah.
All right, Mike, what's your book?
I got the Avengers number 8, and oops, I get to clear off. This one was enjoyable. They've been hinting at Avenger X, somebody who has been trapped in the basement of the Avengers mansion or Avengers Tower. Somebody finds her and frees her because she was like in a coffin, and they're like, who is this woman? Why did she, and she starts freaking out, and she's beating them up, and they're trying to stop her. And the idea is just a Vision finally is like, I accessed the files. This was way before even my time, and she can absorb people's power. She's actually an enemy. This is bad. She's crazy. And they have to be careful. She takes Hercules' strength, and then she's running through the tower. They're trying to evacuate it because it's like 30 floors of normal people and then them.
Right.
And, little by little, she's taking them out, by zapping them, physical contact. Spider-Man's like, I see you. And she goes, I had a mental breakdown. I'm fine now. And he goes, I'm going to web your hands. She goes, that's good. Do that. And he's like, I wish every bad guy was like this. This would be so much easier. And he webs her hands, and she's like, all of a sudden when he gets close enough, she busts out of it because she's got the strength of Hercules and grabs him like, you idiot. Which is just great because Peter, of course, is just like, oh, yeah. Parker luck. It's great also because, as you see in the cover, Doom, Iron Man Doom, infamous Iron Man, shows up because Nadia, the Wasp, has contacted him like, we need your help. I know that you're actually somebody who can help us. I'm not sure if you're a good guy or not, but please help. And so he shows up to fix this because little by little she's knocking them all out. She's taking Cap's powers, and it's great because they just hear ping, 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 ping. And there's in a stairwell, and they're like, what is that noise? And suddenly the shield comes flying and hits Thor in the face. Oh, it was just great to see these kind of things. Doom is even having trouble fighting off this Avenger X. Nadia grabs him, grabs her, and shrinks to the microverse and says, I usually leave a little spark when I do this, but I didn't have time to plan this. So we are lost in here forever. And she's like, I can't believe you're sacrificing yourself for this. And all of a sudden, she sees the shield coming, and Wasp grabs the shield and is flung out of the microverse as she starts to,
Wow.
yeah, and trapping Avenger X into the microverse.
Ah,
So it was great. And it's the idea that Doom and Nadia believe they have some kind of connection. Doom thinks he sees something in Nadia that he can use, and she sees the hero he could be. So it's interesting to see how that develops. It'll be interesting if he becomes a regular Avenger now.
right.
Because I did love it. I mean, it's Phil Noto art. I love Noto's style. And of course, it's Mark Waid's writing, and I feel he's hitting it out of the park with this. It started out with time travel and Kang, and I hated that.
Right.
I got it originally for, of course, the other art, but now, Phil Noto and this storyline, I'm digging it. I'm going to stay on this.
Cool.
So,
Fun. Sounds like fun.
the problem is yes, the next issue is the Secret Empire issue.
Yeah.
Where, as
Well-
we know, Thor loses her hammer. I mean, it's already been announced. It's already been shown, and so I can see why
I hadn't
some of these books are
heard
coming.
that. She loses her hammer?
Oh yeah, I thought I told you that. It's where
No, that's
Steve
right.
walks up
Yeah.
and grabs the hammer, showing that Hydra
Right.
Cap is worthy.
Yeah.
So I don't know, garbage. But anyway,
I don't understand that. I don't understand the sales tactic behind that. It makes little sense to me. I mean, I get it in some ways, but it's awful.
Yeah.
Awful. Mhm. That would be a horrible way for them to get rid of that character. For them to shut that book down that way.
to totally have her lose her hammer.
Yeah. Well, especially to that.
Yes, to Hydra. I don't know. I don't know how any of this is going to go. So
Yikes. Righty.
Yeah.
Black Bolt, issue number 2. I'm still really digging it. Art's still great. So Black Bolt wakes up yet again. There's this little pipsqueaky kind of alien guy that's there. They're in this prison, this secret prison that he thinks the only people that know about it are the upper royalty of wherever the heck it is they're from. Royal City or wherever it is. I don't know what it's called. I can't remember where they're little Panagiria? Oh, yeah, okay. So he thinks he's the only people that know about it. Well, Crusher's walking around in here. Absorbing Man is walking around in the thing. And in this issue, we find a Skrull, this female Skrull that's in there too, that hates all Skrulls, hates everybody. And basically, she didn't want to follow the men's rules, the Skrull men's rules. So she just kind of did her own thing. She was a pirate, and she kept having babies. And every time she'd have babies, the Skrulls would come and take her babies away from her and whatnot. She pretty much hates everybody, kind of a thing. She's a badass in this also. But we find out that the jailer, the guy who's running the place, kills them, and then for some reason they come back, and then kills them again, and they come back, kills them again. There's a chance they might actually die one of these times. But he likes torturing them, psychologically torturing them, and whatever. So Black Bolt finds out he has no powers. He's been wearing that muzzle this whole time, but that was just as a joke. I mean, they didn't need to muzzle him. He can't. I mean, it started out with, they're like, you can talk. And he's like, this super tiny. I mean, I had to get the magnifying glass out to read it. I can't. No, you can't. Because see, that would have killed us right there if you could have. The hilarious thing is, of course, Crusher, Absorbing Man, calls him Wishbone all the way through this.
Oh,
I mean, he absolutely does not call him Black Bolt. He does not call him by his royal name, which is what? Blackadin Bolkagen. I mean, basically, if you truncate his name, it's Black Bolt. He picks on him about that. He laughs at him. He goes, seriously, your name is blah, 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 and your superhero name is Black Bolt? And he laughs at him, and he's gut rolls over that. But yeah, he calls him Wishbone all the time through the entire thing. But he's been fighting these people. He finds out that they've kind of told him, look, you beat us. That's because we let you beat us. This is a game. We're kind of feeling you out to find out who you are, really are. But they want to do a jailbreak, and they think that he's a guy that's going to help them jailbreak. He's really puzzled because, of course, they all know about the jail. Crusher was thrown in there by Shield, he assumes. It's Shield. Guys dressed in black, swooped up and threw him in there. The Skrulls, some intergalactic Skrulls, something or other, the ones that threw the Skrull woman in here. So lots of people know about this prison. Because, like I said, this is supposed to be a secret prison that his brother was supposed to get thrown into, his mad brother. But they're going to do a jailbreak. And, of course, the jailer doesn't really want that to happen. So there's some craziness starts to happen towards the end of it. But great art. The Christian Ward art makes it a joy to read as far as that goes. But the story's been fun, too. It's been an interesting story, this kind of dilemma of him stuck in this, in this prison. And, what's he going to do? There's some great action sequences of him fighting with swords against this, this Skrull woman who is just hilarious. There's some comment about them making babies, the Skrull woman and Black Bolt making babies. She's like, I might use him as a toothpick after I've had my way with a real lover. But I mean, there's just all kinds of, there's lots and lots of funny lines. This written by Saldin Ahmad has been really fun. It's been really fun. And like I said, I really like Crusher in this. He's just funny. Yeah, there he is. Yeah, there's him busting a gut when he finds out that Black Bolt's name is. And he's still laughing and wiping his eyes because he's laughing so hard about the fact that that's what his name is and whatnot. And him calling him Wishbone constantly just cracks me up because the tuning fork thing. And I like the way they do the art on it because the art in this, I gotta see if there's I don't know if you can tell, but that symbol is almost like it's floating off of his head. So instead of being attached to being an actual piece of cloth or something, it's almost like a piece of energy in that shape kind of hanging off of his head. And I really kind of like it. But Christian Ward, I think, is a great artist. I mean, because just in this panel, like I said, I don't know if my camera picks it up very well. His head's kind of in the same way, but it's really not. His eyes are shifted. He's looking down a little bit. So lots of artists would just cheat and use literally the same picture, but it's just subtly just a little bit different as he's realizing just how screwed up everything is and whatnot. Like, oh, okay, well, maybe, because he has to kind of admit to the fact that maybe things aren't as cool as what they thought they were or whatnot. But like I said, I'm happy to be getting. I like the character. This is a fun way to have the character. I wondered how they were going to get away with him talking, seeing how, of course, he blows things up when he talks. Of course, here they cheated in that they took his powers away, but it's still fun. I still like it.
Besides his voice, he has the ability to fly too, correct?
Right. I haven't seen. I haven't. I don't know. I don't know how that works, power-wise, how he can fly.
All right.
I don't know if he's whispering a whole bunch as he fly that makes him fly. I have no idea. Yeah. He says up and away a whole bunch to get himself from point to point B. I have no idea. But yeah, I like it. I mean, because clearly he knows how to fight. He's a physically fit person. Beyond the shouting thing and whatnot. So but it's fun. I like it. And the other Marvel book I got this week is Hawkeye #7. Who's the deadliest of them all? Starting of a new arc. She gets beat up in her office by some random dudes, and they leave her a present. She opens up the present, and inside the present is this necklace. It's this triangle that we get some flashbacks to find out was her mother's, who her mother is supposed to be dead and gone, kind of a thing. It's got like fresh DNA on it and stuff. She thinks she's gotten this invite from Madame Mask. So we get her, this whole scene, most of the comic is her breaking into this skyscraper, fighting a bunch of bad guys, shooting arrows at them and brawling with them and all this kind of stuff. Kind of a la the Matt Fraction, Aja, Hawkeye kind of thing, that same sort of vibe in it of her brawling her way through, thinking she's getting to Madame Mask and she's going to cuss out Madame Mask at the end. And it's her dad at the end of the issue. Of course, she's got all kinds of mixed feelings about her father because she has found that her father basically is a uber criminal, kind of like the Kingpin. He doesn't have powers, but he is manipulating and stealing and robbing and doing all kinds of horrible stuff. And so it kind of taints her entire her entire childhood. But as she's doing this adventure, she has these flashbacks to her mom, and I like all those aspects of it. It's been really good. So
Makes me really feel like that's a Huntress angle almost taken with her.
yeah, and in some ways it is. She doesn't have the let's just murder everybody attitude that the Huntress had around that, but because she's not. It's not like it's a crime family, because of course, with Huntress Bertinelli, she has the whole Italian crime family kind of vibe in that. This doesn't have that part of it, but still really, really enjoyed it. I'm really gonna get a kick out of that book. So hopefully it gets to stay around. So
and I just read Batgirl in the Birds of Prey trade, so that made me think of that too. So.
That first arc, yeah. That's it. That's all I got for Marvel.
Yeah,
Any Marvel news?
Marvel.
Besides the Black Panther trailer, of course, that I'm assuming.
Oh, I love that. That was such good music. I was happy.
Yeah. It looks slick. I mean, it's going to be gorgeous. Looking movie anyway. I don't, there's nothing there to tell you, plot wise or whether that's going to be interesting. But as far as looking at a bunch of hot looking people storming across the screen and whatnot, that definitely all qualifies with some, kick-ass fight scenes and whatnot. So it's going to be, I'll definitely be going to see it, I'm sure.
We were told that with Secret Empire that we will be late because they have to add 10 pages, raise it $1, and I think they said it was Rice who was not planned to be on that book. And that's what really makes me feel like all this Steve Dreams, Steve Otherworld, Steve whatever was added in at the last moment as a fix. And the fact that we still have this other extra episode, issue. I mean, this all seemed like stuff that should have been planned.
A fix is in, oh my God, we got to find some way for him for this not to be the real Steve that's Hail Hydra and all over the place.
Yeah.
So Mike, as a consumer of wonderful Marvel event books, how do you feel about having an extra book added by a different artist with extra pages for extra money?
I don't like it. Because I mean, I'm not even picking up the ones that have McNiven in it. I'm only doing the Sorrentino, and I like McNiven's art, but I'm trying to tell Marvel with my dollars that I don't care for it. I'll grab them off the dollar wall when they hit there because there's too many of them floating around, and I'm not paying those prices. And as somebody who does read it, who wants to support Marvel, I can't. I have to say that I believe, as a Marvel fan, that I'm being dinked around.
Well, especially when it's the last issue, the kicking it down the road because it's late for whatever reason. Part of me says lack of professional, whatever. They're telling me they're giving me 10 extra pages, so I guess I maybe wouldn't be as upset as far as that goes. But then gouging you for an extra $1 on the final issue. So if you want to know how it ends, you're getting gouged on the final issue.
No, this one is the next issue, as far as I know. I believe it's the next one that's coming out is going to be late. That's what they're saying. That's what makes it seems even more mysterious, because Sorrentino's been done for a while. This is the next one that's supposed to come out in a couple of weeks. They're like,
so right in the middle, they're adding extra pages in.
Yes,
and jacking it up a bunch.
Yeah, that's what makes it seem funny. It's like this book is going to be delayed. This new one that's coming up this week, or not this week. It's I think it's next month's one, whatever. But it's next one. It's next book that you're supposed to read, and 10 extra pages. And no, it seems like we should be further along.
I kind of feel like they should be naming and shaming the editors on that book.
Yeah.
Because short of like, I mean, now if the writer died and didn't have the script finished, and somebody else was going to have to come in and write the script, and that was the only way they could figure out how to make it work, that would be excusable, in my opinion, because clearly that's well outside of the preview of having control over the situation and what's going on. To suddenly, we're gonna throw in extra pages and jack it up $1 because of those extra pages, and it's gonna be late. That's editors. That's not the creators even. That's editors. I don't know. That's, to me, that seems very unprofessional.
Yeah. So this is, for Secret Empire number 6, going from 40 to 48 pages. So actually, it's only 8 pages. This one says going to $4.99 from $3.99. Was expected to be July 12th. Will now be July 19th.
It's the extra, it's the extra pages of money that bug me. It being a week late, that's, whatever. Things like that happen, but that's weird. So the extra pages are done by somebody else. They're not even done by the artist that does the rest of the book.
No, because it's supposed to be Leanne Francis Yu.
So it's literally going to be a supplemental, an extra supplemental that's been added into the book.
It feels like that. So I don't know if it's, like I said, if it's going to be Rice doing another Dream episode that wasn't planned, or what it is. The other thing is, and I'm trying to find where it is, it's supposed to maybe tie into the Generations vanishing point. That they're pushing this vanishing point now.
Right.
It's like, what is Vanishing Point? It's been on some of my other advertisement shows, like Nerdist News and stuff like that, which I have another rant on how that was done, but it's just, I don't know. Marvel is trying to reach out, and I think they're doing it in all the wrong ways.
Yeah. It does sound like they're trying to save something. I mean, I'm not reading it, so I really can't tell. All I'm doing is listening to what people are saying about it. But to me, that just seems crazy. Some sort of editorial meltdown. I don't know. That just, wow. Huh. Cool.
Yeah. So that's it.
Sorry, Mike. But I'm glad it's not me. Holy cows. Wow. Okay, so any other Marvel news?
No.
Any happy Marvel news? No? Okay.
No, not that I know of.
So let's roll on to some indie books so we can listen to Rez talk.
Yep.
Yay.
So excited.
What do you want to talk about?
The first one I scrolled up. You see
Injection. Yeah.
Yes. I really like this issue. Now, it's not the best issue I read or a comic I read this week, but it was something that stood out for me because some crazy. Can I say shit?
Oh yeah.
The crazy shit went down. It went down. We just saw a man get torn to freaking shreds.
Yeah, they let pages go by of that guy getting shredded.
And I loved it every minute of it. I was like, oh my god, like this is so obscene.
Yeah, they electrify basically the equivalent of a Stonehenge, and all of a sudden these magic hands start coming up, and they grab a hold of the guy, and they gut the guy for 3 pages.
I mean, tore his face off.
They tear his face off, pull his tongue out. Oh yeah,
that dude suffered, man. He suffered.
Brutal.
But crazy as crap. What did I write down? I wrote down.
Yeah.
I thought it was really funny when the girl said, "You guys get to break a shite." I was like, "What? What the hell is that? And why am I not saying that?"
I know we're gonna start using it because we'll probably use it completely wrong, but
I know, right?
Yeah.
And then I also wrote a key point in here was that the crosses were being broken into pieces in a weird way, which I thought was really odd. The professor lied about how the mechanism actually worked. I believe she was the reason why that mechanism was turned on later on in the issue. Which I found that one girl, the one with the weird little computer thing in her body, she didn't seem to be too concerned. I feel like she knew what was going to happen, but she didn't seem too concerned at all. Like she didn't seem phased or shocked or bewildered, such as her partner, the girl who had a criminal record.
Well, right, because I mean, you got to figure she's the savvy one, right? I mean, she helped create this monster that's in the computer system and all this other stuff. So she's seen lots of crazy things. Yeah. So for her, it's not so much of a big deal. The other girl's basically a normal woman who's gotten herself into a job that's, that's nuts, kind of a thing. So,
yeah. I also wrote down about how the professor, she said that she hates Christians.
Yes.
And believes that them to be an affection that has laid waste for ages. And then the last page, like pretty much like now what? Like they left cliffhanger, huge cliffhanger. So
Yes.
I really like this issue. I liked where it went. I like the jokes. I like the girl having to raise the box cutter, pointed at the two mysterious weird dudes that follow that professor. That was really cool.
Yeah.
I like this issue.
I really like it too. I like the interaction between our main character and this this woman that she's taken on, who has a little bit of a record. She's primed her by saying, hey, look, this whole thing, just act like this is a deal gone bad, because the whole drug thing, and that's how you're supposed to view all this. And so she's so she's pretty hyper aware of all the stuff that's going on, and so we see the pieces get put together through her. Probably the other girl knows it too, but she's like, oh no, she knows this, whatnot, and I love the fact she picks up on the fact that the scientist woman, is clearly some sort of pagan, who hates Christians. She called them an effing plague, vermin, and all this other stuff, which is all pretty funny the way she delivers that stuff. But she's like, oh no, there is no ritual, that's all gone. But before that, she had mentioned there were all these poems about it and whatnot. And of course, the helper's like, look, poetry is the written oral, ritual. I mean, that's how you memorized it, was by doing it that way and stuff. But I really love the very last page, the very last panel, because they're running from that guy getting shredded. There's lots of other people. I'm sure there's tons of other people being killed too.
Yeah.
They get in the car. They're sitting there for them closing the doors, and then there's one panel of them just sitting there looking at each other, and then they're still looking out at the whole horrible stuff that's happening. And it's like, now what? I don't know. It was funny. I giggled that part of it. It's horrible, but it's just this whole they're running. And everything's horrible happening. They're both like, oh crap. And then here's the next page. Okay, now what? Yeah, because they're, love that next cover. But
yeah, I know, right?
And the other part that was in this, the part with Morel, who's got this new job. He's working for a branch of the government. It's only a couple pages of him in here, but clearly he's kind of tipped off the deep end. I feel like he's gone someplace. He's gone someplace dark. He's one of these, they're all this whole group of people they've been telling these stories about for 13 issues. They're all a group that was together at one point.
Yeah,
most of them now are kind of freelancers. They kind of work for the government, but they all seem to be working for the greater good. This guy is supposedly too, but he's gathering information and he wants to control it all. I mean, that's his thing here. He's like, I understand all these other people are doing this stuff and we don't want to piss them off, but we should do these things. So I'm in control of it all. Mm-hmm. So
you're going to die.
That's going to be some sinister stuff potentially on there. I love his like handler or whatever she is.
I know her leg was
right. She's missing her legs. She has two blades. She has the prosthetic blades.
Does that remind you of something? Do you remember that from that Kingdom movie with Colin Firth?
Yeah.
Do you remember the girl, the assassin girl who had those two metal legs, and she was always. Never mind. That first, as soon as I saw that, I said, "Oh my god, that's that movie."
Well, she's so casual about it. It's like, oh well, maybe I'll teach you to dance. I mean, she's joking with them, and and she just lifts those legs up like they're nothing. Like it's it's an all joke to her that But yeah, I really like the book. I thought it was a very smart issue. Very smart issue all the way through it. All the stuff in it. The different characters. I love this new. This underling that our main character has picked up, her helper. Her watching her face as she's putting the crosses together. And it's like, they're all broken that way, huh? I just, her giving the finger to those two stooges that they don't like.
That was so funny when she did that. I was like, what is she doing? Why is she egging them on? They're so insidious,
Right. I mean, the face too. It's not like she's not just giving her the finger. It's the whole scrunched up F you face to go along with it. Oh yeah.
I love this issue. I loved it.
Yeah. It's some smart writing. The dialogue is great in it. The art's fabulous. It's just
it's nothing better than learning about freaking Celtic mythology and some sort of how spilling out into the real world.
Right. Because the whole premise is this: in England, there are Spriggans and pixies all over the place in lore, and they would hunt people down at night and do horrible things to them. in this place where they're at right now, Marling, I can't remember exactly what part of Cornwall it's in. Yeah. They never had that problem. They never had that problem there because they had this stone circle, and they had what they had called the Cold House in it. And they, people would get chained up out there, the morally corrupt Christians.
Yep, I know, right?
Would get drug out there and chained up, and the next day they'd just be gone. And that kept everybody else from getting snatched. You could wander around at night and not worry about the Spriggans coming and getting you and something horrible happening to you, because they're sacrificing people all the time. And they bring in this expert, and clearly the expert knows a lot and has probably been using the damn thing. So, because remember, her little thugs had that, they had that power generator themselves and whatnot. So yeah, really interesting. Good stuff. Good stuff all around.
Yeah, for sure.
It feels like there was maybe an issue or two of that series that kind of, it felt like maybe it was losing its way as far as having a solid story going. But right now it is just absolutely rocking, I think, for sure.
I agree.
For sure. What else you got? What else you want to talk about?
Oh, here we go. Okay. Can you see it?
Paper Girl.
Yeah, Paper Girls. Oh my goodness.
This was probably my favorite comic this week.
Yeah. I was right there I'm right there with you. What the crap? Like, oh my God. Okay, one, the girl has no translator anymore, so she's speaking in her
right
language, and we have this kind of weird sexual tension between Cage and
it really gets there at one point. I mean, it's like, it's almost, because of course she saw, they had this, she touched that cube shell, the things of the future, and she sees herself kissing her friend, and that kind of freaked her out. No, it has to be wrong.
Yeah.
But now she's thinking, oh, maybe it's not so wrong. And then there's this one moment, where what's her face is all pissed off at her for running off and being the hero.
Yeah.
And it's almost like it's the I'm angry at the girlfriend for doing something stupid kind of a thing. More so than that. And then they're like really close to each other. It's like, oh. And so I'm glad that wasn't just me. I'm glad it wasn't just me, maybe misinterpreting this. They're yelling and screaming at each other, right? That typically thing you see on television where they're at each other, and then there's that moment, and it's right here until somebody interrupts them. It's like, okay, yeah.
I totally saw it. I totally caught it, Travis. I told you.
Yeah, it's like, oh.
But I really like that moment. I love the moment where they finally convinced the headstrong scientist to help them with the cause to get Joppo back.
Right.
Seeing this somewhat biblical scene play out with Joppo and this man trying to murder his son, like Abraham.
Right. Yeah.
And I have to say this, with a lot of comics we're reading these days, a lot of things are mixed in science fiction with biblical things. This is like, it's like a huge theme. We're coming back. And I mean, of all time, science fiction has always explored biblical things. And
right.
But I feel like it's even more pronounced these days. For some reason, maybe I wasn't picking it up as much before, but I really feel like with Brian K. Vaughan, you really don't. It seems like it's a huge theme for him. Like, Why the Last Man? This. What else? Saga in some ways has some things like that hit on biblical notes. Not so much as this one, per se, but yeah, I wanted to point that out because that was a notation I made.
Yeah.
Whole Abraham scene.
Yeah. As the sky rift is opening up, which is how the girls got here in the first place, was jumping through one of these portals, and another one is opened up. And you're not sure, is that what he's going to do? Is he going to brain the baby there? Is he going to brain his son?
Yeah.
Sacrifice his son?
I felt like that was like a retelling of that story, the biblical story.
Sure.
Could be wrong, could be wrong. We don't know. She killed him before we found out.
And then fight ensues. Hey, she's got a pair of the super boots too, and fight ensues. She gets, dropping the hammer.
I know.
And she doesn't just do it once. She
did it
beats that guy's head in.
I was like, damn, Cliff Chang.
gory, big time. And I saw blood on your face. There's the blood on your face.
Yeah. I really like that moment. I like that.
Oh yeah, it was heavy. And then
Tendrils too at the end. Remember the little tendrils reaching out to all the girls when they thought
well, yeah, so they get to the capsule because they think the capsule is gonna teleport them into the farther into the future, and those future people, they can tell them where they're from, and those future people can send it and fix it all. Supposedly, they don't get there in time. The capsule goes to take off. They get caught in the backwash. I'm assuming that's the kind of like the wake of it, and they get pulled to who knows where. Except for, of course, one character lands, and she lands in the parking lot of Comp USA and Applebee's. Is where she lands at. Except Applebee's is burning down. It is gutted.
good. They're disgusting.
And cop shows up, like the old sheriff guy shows up there and is cussing at her. It's like, oh, we got another looter here. And she's like, I have no looter, Y2K. Anybody remember that? Anybody remember that?
Yeah.
I was my underground bunker when it happened.
It actually happened. Whereas, of course, nothing happened for us. Here it happens like, oh, that whole, the nerds were right. Y2K actually happened. And she's like, Y2 what? And walking behind her in the background is this giant robot.
Oh yeah.
Every time you think, yeah, okay, I've kind of got a handle. This is the setting that these paper girls on Halloween night are in. You think you got it settled. You go about 6 issues and bam, something else completely. Now, the other question, are all the other girls in the same reality, or are they
Dispersed.
thrown across the whatever?
The galaxy.
So are we going to get individual stories, or now what? I mean, she's in a place that, other than the giant robot thing, obviously, computers are dead. Cash registers are dead. You can't even buy a soda pop because the cash register doesn't work. Yeah. I loved it. Absolutely loved the book.
Me too. I just can't believe when I first heard about Paper Girls and I read it. I was like, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And
no one did.
I love him.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I even doubted him for a minute. I don't know why. Why did I doubt it? I love everything I've ever read by him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, nobody was prepared for this book. I don't think nobody had an idea. I mean, because the premise was you got these girls, they're all paper girls, they're all out delivering. It's Halloween night, and they get into some, carbuncle of some sort. So I mean, what's that setting? That's clearly some sort of horror setting because it's Halloween night, whatever kind of thing. And we get guys riding around pterodactyls speaking, weird Japanese binary language and
try to carbuncle the baby.
Yes. Like making up words. Leave me alone.
Oh yeah.
All righty. What else you want to talk about?
Oh my goodness. I love that word.
Write it down.
Okay, I know. I got it.
Trademark.
I don't know how you spell it. The unsound.
Unsound. The newest horror. Horror.
Don't call me that. Yes.
I thought it was strange. It was very eerie in the way that horror movies are taking the directions they're going in now. Like I felt like it was very Insidious like / what's the other ones in that franchise? Like Annabelle-ish kind of, where it's very creepy and this on you. Like, it's not gonna be great. It's not gonna be a masterpiece first issue. It's just introductory.
Mm-hmm.
Ashley with 2 eyes at the end, I believe, right? Or
right.
L-I, not Y. So I thought that was
right.
So we have her. Apparently she's a cutter because she had some flashbacks of her cutting herself. She's a neighbor who's a hoarder.
Right.
Of many things. She apparently bonds with him over TV shows and I was like, oh my gosh, she goes in that house, like ugh, like what?
Well, maybe he comes third place.
Well, let's hope, because I was like, that's crazy.
So this book is a Cullen Bunn run book. Most of us know who Cullen Bunn is from all the stuff that he's done. Jack T. Cole. I'm not familiar with Jack T. Cole's work.
He actually wrote some Image. He wrote a few stories in Image.
Okay.
Island. Images Island by Brandon Graham.
Oh, okay. I really like the art. I mean, for me, I looked at the cover and went, "Ooh, that looks cool." Cullen Bunn's on it. I mean, I tried it out. Really didn't pay attention to what it was about. But yeah, so our main character is working in a reopened insane asylum. You know, they're overbooked. They've got too many people for the amount of staff they have. You know, so it's you know, but yeah, I love the way it starts out. It starts out with her walking to work. So you get, you know, her like Rez said, talking to the neighbors. You know, there's the hoarder neighbor, you know, kind of a thing, and her being out. The cat lady, she walks past the cat lady's house, you know, kind of thing. And of course, we're in like New York or something. So you got the guy standing on the street corner with the cardboard sign that says, you know, "You're a sinner." And he's going on about everybody's a sinner and they're all going to hell and whatnot. And she rides the subway, and there's all, you know, it's got the whole see something, say something with the Arab, you know, kind of face on it, that whole crappy, you know,
What was that? What was that in the jars? Was that piss and poop in the jars?
no, see, I thought it was a slug or something.
Because I was like, I gotta ask Travis, did he think that was poop and piss?
Yeah, so here's this, and of course you see where Rez's mind goes. I'm trying to kill slugs in my garden, so my thought was, well, that's a big giant slug they're trying to kill. I have no idea.
Okay. Slug.
I haven't figured out. But yeah, this guy's riding along. He's way off in the distance, and he's got all this. It's all right. Don't worry. We're gonna be home soon. He's talking to the jar, and he's got a whole bunch of jars.
Yeah, so I'm like, it would be piss and poop.
Okay. I don't know. But at any rate, you know, she gets to work. Work is this gorgeous building. Like I said, I love the color and the, you know, the architecture of the story and whatnot. She gets up to the front desk. There's nobody working the front desk. There's a razor blade sitting at the front desk, which is just like, what? A razor blade and the crazy the sale sound? Come on. No.
This is intense.
Yes. So you see, well, some of us worked in places like this. But anyway, so you get to meet one of the staff members, the person who's in charge. She's clearly overworked. It's like, you know, if you had been nice, if you had, you know, she's like, you know, if you had been here 10 minutes sooner, you might have gotten the tour. You know, and the girl's like, "Oh, I'm really sorry." You know, and she tries to explain, you know, why she might have been late. She goes, "That's okay. You probably wouldn't have gotten the tour anyway." You know, kind of thing, because they're way too busy for that. You know, so it's got some of the typical tropes of, you know, of a mental institution. But you know, oh, go back there, find yourself a locker. There's cots. Nobody sleeps in the cots, but maybe someday, if you're crazy, you can stay there. Of course, somebody's talking from one of the sleeping under one of the cots. It looks like, and they're saying all kinds of crazy stuff. The prince is throwing a ball, and you're invited. And she's like, "Excuse me," and she goes to pull back the things after it says something, and it's like half. It's the torso of the Resuscitate Annie, is what it is. That's supposedly been talking, you know, and it's, you know, and it's, of course, it's not fresh. It's creepy as hell too. So she goes and meets some of the people in the place. There's these, they're like supposedly executives or something that run the hospital, and they take away one of the patients. And as they're taking away the patients, I mean, this is what they look like.
I feel like they're demons that go and lobotomize the patients.
Clearly, they're sinister. So I mean, this thing has all the kind of, you know, typical tropes of, oh, we're in the crazy place. But I liked it. I mean, our head nurse is popping some of the pills herself to get through the day.
I wrote that down too. I was like, what is she?
Yeah, you know, we got our, you know, some of our other
looking sickly
other patients and stuff. Yeah, it's all kinds. There's a person with a mask, a paper plate mask that says some really strange stuff. And it's amazing. It's amazing at times how empty the place is, right? Overcrowded, but at the same time, get these eerie moments of it being empty. I don't know. You know,
did you catch the name of the actual insane asylum? Because wasn't it called Velasquez Asylum? Because if it is, you remember the Velasquez family, the tale of that, the whole murder of 8 people. What was it called? What was the asylum called? I couldn't remember. I was reading it and then I meant to write it down and I didn't.
I don't remember.
I thought that was a nod to what may occur in that asylum. there are gonna be people trapped within an asylum, and people are just getting knocked off left and right, you know, one by one.
Yeah, you know, I don't know.
When she enters into the place and she goes to the head of security.
It's Saint Casca.
Cascia.
Cascia. Cascia.
Okay. I thought it was a nod to that family. That was the whole entire family that was murdered. I was like, wow, that's a cue. I mean, that's obviously a horror. It's a horror comic, so maybe it's making a nod to the horror movie.
Right. Well, she ends up cutting her. She has her hand cut, and you get this whole kind of scene of just random kind of some craziness. You know, she's tugging because this is where we find out that she was a cutter. She got the scars. One of the scars opens up and it has an eye in it and is dripping and stuff. And there's teeth in the sink. It's just all things are going all kinds of nuts. And then the final page is all kinds of crazy. You know, she's like falling through the floor. There's these people with bloody hands and handprints. You know, the patients who are saying stuff to her, and she's got all this razor blades flashing through her minds and people eating their fingers, and she's falling to the floor. So next issue is going to be totally nuts, I would guess.
Why do I feel like maybe the staff is appeasing her and making her believe she works there when she's the patient?
You think?
Yeah, I feel like the end's going to be where we find out.
I think they're all patients except for her.
But you know what? The first thing I thought too when I read this, when I started reading it, the first immediate thing I thought was, this is so House of Penance.
It is in ways.
I mean, it's just the way I mean, obviously the illustration style is different than what we experienced with that, but an eerie feel, like you don't know what exactly is going on, but you know it's something, and you're hoping it's gonna be explained in a way, to where it makes sense, you know. Yeah,
I really liked it.
Yeah, I did too.
I'm looking forward to the next one. I mean, like I said, I don't know any moment of it I was blown away, but it hit the right kind of notes for this kind of a horror book. So,
and it explains. I saw Colin's Twitter that everybody was cutting out paper plates with that look.
Sure.
And I was like, it's got to be something new in a book. I have no idea what it is, so I'm glad you showed it.
Yeah, that must be. I haven't been on Twitter as much, so I guess I missed that. That's pretty funny. Because that character in particular, they point him out and they say that he's cool because the asylum the mental institution was open for a while, for a long time, was overpopulated. There was abuse problems. They shut it down. It was shut down for like a lot of years, like a couple decades, and it's been reopened for 3 years. And supposedly this guy was there before when it was open, because when they closed it down and literally just kicked people to the streets. It wasn't like they closed it down and sent them someplace else. So supposedly this guy wandered the street, and when it opened back up, he came back. But the head nurse is like, that can't be true because he's too young to have been here before. But that's all we really know about that character. But yeah. Anything else you want to say about the rest?
I was wondering if you saw the covers for upcoming issues, because they had that guy with his paper plate face sprawled on him. So I was like, yeah, he's gonna be obviously a very pinnacle character for further issues.
Sure.
Which is what you.
No, I guess I hadn't really paid attention, I guess. No, I don't see it in here, but okay, I'll take a look. I haven't paid attention. I just been ordering them, you know, kind of a thing, because I knew I was getting it. So,
how do you think he did that whole thing where his eyes was on his chin? Like, I was wondering how he did that.
I don't know.
You're all knowing, Travis.
Sorry.
I need to know, Travis.
I'll give Colin a call and ask him, how's that working out?
I know, right?
Oh, man. I seem to be getting a lot of horror comics now, it seems like. Horror comics, is there an uptick in horror comics right now? Does it seem like?
Yeah, I feel like that's what's going on these days.
Yeah.
Horror stuff. Horror theme.
Alrighty, what else? Any others?
Baby tooth.
Oh, okay. So say the way you're holding your phone, it's like just this edge, so I can see it.
Oh, sorry.
Baby teeth.
Yeah.
Speaking of horror comics.
Yeah.
Baby teeth number one. Donny Cates, right? Gary Brown, Aftershocks comic. What do you think?
I guess I was expecting to be super blown away. I wasn't necessarily blown away. I thought it was interesting. I'm intrigued not a lot, but intrigued enough to maybe continue on and read the second issue and see where it goes. I liked seeing the first scene where we're seeing the narrator Sadie, she's trying to make this video where she's introducing herself to her son that she's abandoned, and she's telling him, hey, I'm your mother. I have left you, but this is why. Let me just chill out. Don't panic. Don't fret. This is why I left you. You are the Antichrist. Okay. And I'm here in Palestine on Holy Lands in a mausoleum somewhere.
Right. Which we don't know that at the beginning. At the beginning, it opens up with this scene, of her trying to figure out what she's going to say and how she's going to start it. And, she's clearly, it's, some sort of ancient ruins, but we don't know where that is, where that is. And she pushes the button. And then we start the story of her basically the day that she goes into contractions. And most of the story is her giving birth, right? I mean, that's
going to labor, then going into the nether world of life,
and then having her baby born, whose name is Clark, after Superman.
I know. I wrote that down. Like,
yeah, that's funny.
Yeah,
it's doubly funny because, her baby seems to be like a giant slice of evil. So naming him Clark after Superman is hilarious on a whole other level.
Yeah.
Well, that was kind of, so it's kind of crazy. She starts to go into labor. They're rushing her to the hospital. Every time she has a contraction, it's actually a seismic tremor that shakes the entire world, basically.
On the Richter, it registers on the Richter scale.
Yeah, it starts out as mild earthquakes and then becomes much more traumatic until she actually has said baby and whatnot. Yeah, I guess for me, I like the idea of it more than right now I am actually sold on the book itself.
Yeah.
But the first issue is kind of just all set up too, isn't it? Right. It's all set up without a character hook that makes me go, oh my gosh, I kind of like this girl that just, gave birth to Clark, but I'm not like
in love with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not invested.
Okay.
I'm not invested.
Yeah, I'm not invested either. Clearly
I'm going to be getting a couple issues. I didn't dislike it enough that I'm immediately going to stop ordering it. So I'll end up with 3 or 4 issues of it, kind of a thing. But
I feel like it was misleading, don't you feel? In some regard, we didn't see anything regarding. We're like relaying us, giving us information as to the teeth part. There's a baby, but where's the teeth?
Right. Sure. I guess if I'm going to take it, that literally. I guess. I don't know. I guess that's a good question. I guess I just feel like that.
Well, I don't know what else baby teeth mean. Is there some kind of other meaning behind that, significance that maybe I didn't catch?
Well, I guess I'm thinking more along the lines of instead of specifically being the whole cutting teeth, the whole growing up, the whole having a baby, and this way they can flip that T upside down so it looks like an upside down cross.
Convenience. Okay. I'll buy it for now.
To be clever. I guess I didn't expect to pick up the book and actually literally have baby teeth in it, though.
I was expecting the baby to be born with full set of teeth and something like that.
How do you know they aren't? You're
right. It was just set up so far. Yeah. But I'm expecting teeth to be in this issue, in this series, at least one.
Yeah. So I don't know, kind of thing. I wasn't I definitely wasn't blown away by it. I like the premise of it, so I'll give it another issue. I reissue 2, and it's like this issue, then I'll be stopping getting it.
Well, I'll be waiting on that. I like Donny Cates, but I think the art has sold me a lot on most of his books until we got to some of these where he's going definitely on his own, less superhero, more just these really different ideas. So,
for sure. Okay, Rez, what's next?
The Divided States of Hysteria. Did you read
Oh,
that?
it's no.
You didn't read that?
Nope.
I thought you had got that.
Nope.
Well, I was hoping you was gonna tell me what it was about.
I can tell you what I understand that a lot of it is about, but
Because I read it and I was like, it was so disjointed and crazy. I was like, what in the hell did I just read? Like it was just a whole bunch of people just doing horrible shit. Like
it's Howard Jenkins just throwing out stuff to be edgy and right and to be edgy, that means you have to be violent and sexually violent.
Yep.
I know that there's a trans woman in there that is has horrible stuff happens that does happen to trans women, but I don't know that you need to use a comic book to do that. Terrorists attacking DC, which of course, if you happen to have lived through 9/11 and you're in the DC area, probably isn't too exciting to read. Yeah, so all I heard about it is that it punched a lot of people's buttons. So
yeah, definitely. It was a lot of stuff going on in here. I was like, I Hard Chicken for a very long time, especially reading Black Kiss. But now I'm kind of thinking he's obsessed with trans people.
Yeah, he is.
To some degree, because
but not in a positive way.
Yeah, like I wasn't gonna say positive. I was gonna say he's just obsessed with them, which is unhealthy because it really bleeds through his writing. Black Kiss obviously featured a character who's trans, and then in a way he portrayed that character. I didn't feel like it was very positive, and then here we have it in even more of a negative way. Yeah, and you like you said, it didn't need to be played out in a way where we see violence against that person. I read this and I thought to myself, oh my goodness, like why is this here, and why I don't know. I didn't particularly care for it. It was very, like I said, very all over the place. We had like tweets going like in Arabic, which I can't read, so that was not helpful for me. There was like tons of tweets from different people, pretty sure saying all kinds of crazy stuff, like a lot of disjointed Instagram and Facebook posts throughout. And then we had this one FBI agent or CIA agent who was cheating on his wife, that his wife knows he's cheating on her, and she, she's telling me she wants to kill the kid, that she envisions the kids with their heads on a pike because she's frustrated because they're driving her crazy, which that scene didn't make sense. Okay, yeah, the husband's calling home to check on the wife, but we see him with his mistress. But then we skip forward to all these different vignettes of these other characters that are like literally horrible people. One's a serial killer who thought he would never get caught. He gets caught. We see this, the trans person, having a sexcapade with several different politicians, and then getting caught and they beating her up, and then her going to jail. Then we see a terrorist attack on a plane, and then we see like the opening. I think the opening vignette was when the president and all his cabinet members get assassinated. And I mean, just a whole bunch of stuff going on, but it never seemed to feel like they all meshed together into a good story, or to a complete story that read well. I was just offended by the writing. I didn't, that was the most thing that bothered me. I just didn't know why it read the way it did. And I read it. I had to read it over twice just to I'm like, maybe I read this wrong, but I usually don't read very wrong at all. And so yeah. I was like, yeah, it wasn't really all that great, but I thought it was something to bring up.
And and those subject matters, I'm not saying that they shouldn't be written about, but there has to be some value to them if you're going to do it. And from everything I've heard, there isn't value.
No.
And like you're saying, if it's poorly written, then it just makes all that stuff even worse.
This is why I usually hesitate when it comes to Howard Chaykin getting any of his new books.
Right.
Of course, Black Kiss was my last book. I think I had got the extended edition or something, a revised one. But I think that was the last book that I literally picked up and read by him. I have, for some reason, I've not been really into anything else he's written since.
For me, it's like I pick up, if he's doing something, I'll pick up stuff. If he's doing corporate comics, I've picked up in the past, like his versions of The Shadow and stuff like that, because then clearly somebody has some control over what he's doing, to some degree. I read some of, was it Satellite Sam, where Matt Fraction was writing it. But yeah, I haven't read anything. Satellite Sam, I think, is the most recent thing I read that Howard had anything to do with. So
Yeah, I read Black Kiss after I had read Set
Mhm.
License. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with the dude, man. Maybe it's just all the political climate is really gotten to him that much that he feels like he has to write this kind of story.
Well, right. So I mean, I don't know if that's his intention. Is his intention to write shock comics? I mean, so I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Because there's clearly, there always has been a to some degree a market and a genre of exploitation type stuff. Clearly underground books, and I mean genuinely underground books have all that kinds of stuff in them. Back in the day when Crumb was still underground, a lot of his stuff clearly is sexist and sexualized and stuff that we would read and go, that's not really cool, other than of what it is, kind of a thing. And I don't know if that's what he's trying to do. And because he's doing it through like Image, which is a pretty big company now, it puts it out there in a way that we're consuming it differently.
Yeah, I mean,
because I know sometimes I can read some of that stuff that is clearly vulgar, and go and be able to roll with it. I can just go, yeah, okay, it clearly this is all awful, but done in a way that I can still like it, if that makes sense. If that doesn't make me an awful person,
right. Yeah,
but then sometimes if it's not done right or done at the wrong time or in the wrong venue, then it comes across as, like I said, as being vulgar in some sense.
Yeah,
I also think with the whole trans part in there and stuff, it's really unfortunate that would come out. The issue number 1 comes out in the month that is typically labeled as Pride Month for the LGBT community. So that seems somewhat insensitive and tone deaf for the company to do that. I'm not saying that that Image should be going, oh no, we're not producing this kind of book, because I think they should produce all kinds of books, but to especially release it in the month that is that community celebrates Pride, it seems even more tasteless, I guess.
Well, no more tasteless than somebody probably releasing a book that deals with things of topics of slavery and then release it
in Black History Month.
Black History Month. Yeah. So I mean, I they may not have just been thinking about it. I feel like the way I absorbed this book wasn't necessarily irritation for the whole trans thing and the other thing. I think it was because of the fact that it just was, like I said, very badly written. It was so disjointed and wasn't put together very well. It could have been put together in a way where it read somewhat insightful, because obviously there's a message there,
right,
to portray or convey. But I don't see myself getting another issue of this. Put myself through that.
right.
Because it seemed like it was a little too much to try to get into.
Well, yeah, like I'm saying, I'm not saying those topics are untouchable.
Yeah.
But you gotta do something with them and be able to write it well enough to make you want to set through it.
I just feel like if it was released through an underground company and I still happened to pick it up, I don't think I would be looking at this in the same way. I think it would have read a little differently for me. Because there have been underground stuff that I've read that has been very shocking. Like a perfect example, it was a title recently that I remember me talking about called Slasher. It had some subject matter that could be very provocative and sexual, for some. I mean, a guy with a gimp suit, and then cutting himself with butcher knife. I mean, that's pretty crazy, like some people wouldn't usually find that very mainstreamy. But I feel like there's something going on there that intrigues me enough to continue on reading it, and it was well written. Charles Forsman did a really good job of writing that story, and he also illustrated as well. I like the style; it reminded me so much of Daniel Klaus. But when I read this Howard Chaykin story, the illustrations were not really good. Wasn't his best work by far, not in the slightest. And then the BS post, social media post sprawled throughout, and they were kind of blurred out, so where you kind of could read them, and then you had
Right.
the various, like I said, backstories, all these various people who obviously gonna probably take place, or I mean, take some kind of role or importance throughout the story later on. I don't know. It was by far the worst book of the month for me. I can say that confidently. This wasn't really good. But I was like, hopefully Travis read it so he could tell me what the hell I just read. Because I'm like, what in the crap?
No, I don't. There's another. Trying to remember the title of it. There's another kind of set in the United States, anti-United States kind of a book that's coming out. I can't remember the title of it that I am getting though.
I told you know what? Oh yeah, it was, what company is it? I know it's an indie company.
Was it like Boom? I want to think it's like
Boom. It's kind of like Boom, maybe like Roar City or something like that. Or
yeah. There's another one I am getting, but it's not that one. Yeah.
Okay.
The titles kind of sound the same, but yeah. Another book that I picked up that nobody else probably picked up. This is Faith, issue number 12, the end of the series. The series ends here, and now Faith is going to be part of a team book, something Force. I can't remember exactly what it's called.
Not part of the Harbinger Renegade.
Yeah, she's teamed up. She'll be teamed up with a whole bunch of people. It sounds like I'm trying to find the.
I read the Harbinger Renegade.
Yeah, Faith and the Future Force. So it's got a whole mix of a wide splash of Valiant characters on there. I mean, Archer and Armstrong are on there. Bloodshot's on there. I don't know a lot of the other characters because I don't know the Valiant universe all that well. I'm not getting that, but anyway. So this, of course, she fights against the Faithless. You know, the group of supervillains have gotten together to try and take her out. They've captured her. She, of course, uses her smarts to get them arguing amongst themselves and doubting themselves, and pretty much the villains kind of to a large degree take care of each other as she figures out how to escape the death trap that she is in. And how they end it to kind of take her out of her normal groove is because they all disappear, all the villains. There's some magic happens. The Danger Mouse character whips out a magic thing and it gets blasted and it basically explodes and teleports them to she doesn't know where. She can't just go around being Faith anymore because last issue they kind of showed her to be, they made her look like she was a villain, like she was killing people and stuff. So the city of Los Angeles thinks that she's evil. So she still has her secret identity and she can go to work and her friends still know who she is. But until she can get those people and make them confess or find evidence to prove her innocence, she can't just be Faith anymore. She can't just fly around being Faith, which I think is their way of setting up to where she'll be part of this new run of books that's still written by Jody Houser, who I really like. I really like Jody Houser a lot. I don't know if it was an on-air or an off-air discussion that I had with Eric and Damien on that show this last week. I'd love to see her do Wonder Woman, since how they're changing writers and stuff, just because of the different books that she writes. Between Faith and Mother Panic, those two are so polar opposite. It feels the books of each other. Clearly she has Jody Houser has a wide breadth of ability to write this kind of more of a happy, wholesome superhero versus the bomb dropping Mother Panic kind of a thing. I just feel like that she'd be a good work for that. I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed the 12 issues. I enjoyed the miniseries that came before it. If it pops back up that there's a new Faith book after this team thing, which I just not interested in diving into all of all of the Valiant universe, but maybe I should have gotten this. Maybe this would have been a smart thing to get to allow me to see more of the Valiant universe, because it's written by somebody I like. So that would have been a smart thing to do now that I think about it. But if the Faith book ever comes back and Jody Houser is writing it, for sure, I will go back to picking it up because I really enjoyed it. But another book of mine that's ending. quite a few books that are ending.
I'm sad Flintstones ended. I'm
Yeah.
really depressed about that.
What else you got, Rez?
Night Owl Society #3. So I believe
Okay.
this is the second to last book. A second to last issue of the series by IDW. This book just skips to the future way too fast for me, for my liking. I understand it has to move forward, so we can understand and I suppose move the story along to where we kind of feel for these characters. But it makes the whole bond between these young group of teenagers who wants to take down this guy's dad, it makes it unbelievable. The bond doesn't feel real to me. So I'm reading this story of these kids who, after this priest was killed viciously, try to band together to take down this one. And in this issue, we see the son, after the group decides to disband because he lied about the guy being he tries to do it all on his own. He goes to his dad's warehouse, tries to find him so he can kill him. His dad texts him, like his dad's goons knows that he's there. They try to set a trap to distract him somehow or distract the friends while he goes to his dad's house to pay respects to his mother. That was, and then also to the priest that his father killed. While he confronts his father, the sister's there, and she has no idea what's going on. And the father, reveals his plan of how he wants the young teenager Sean to murder him because he has stage 4 pancreatic cancer. There's no curing him. There's no coming back from this. He wants him to kill him, to be strong, to take over his business and provide for his family. He says he told his son Sean that. This is the only way to do it because he's canceled life insurance policy, his medical insurance. They're going to have no other way to take care of each other. So he has no choice but to take over the family business, which is, selling drugs and laundering money and stuff like that. So the boy Sean obviously doesn't want to do this. He felt like this is a lot. This is crazy, and he told his father, you're sick in the head. This is nuts. And so while him and his father are arguing, his father tells him, like, if you don't kill me, then I will kill all your friends and your sister. I will murder everyone until you become strong enough to do what needs to be done. Somehow there's a struggle, and the father tries to, Sean decides to take the gun and kill himself. The sister tries to stop him. There's a struggle somehow, and the little sister gets shot and killed. We skip forward to her funeral. Obviously, the boy Sean is very traumatized by this. And he decides he wants to change the way this whole family dynamic works. Now that his father's in the hospital, dying of his cancer. His father thinks he's a coward. He decides to go ahead and relinquish the business to one of his father's goons. And he tells the goon, look, you can have the book where it has all the stuff, all the business doings and dealings of what you did to launder money and sell drugs. I'm going to go ahead and take the business side where it was actually legitimate. I'll keep that side and we'll manage. You manage on your own, we manage on our own. And the thug said, well, I don't want to do that. How do you know? What's to stop me from killing you? He said, well, my friends will come after you. Then he goes to the hospital to, tell his father off, to tell him, hey, look, I made this decision. I'm not going to be a part of your business. I'm doing this the right way, and his father says, well, I approve, but not my boss. So, dun, 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 to be continued. Now we're going to find out who his boss is.
Right.
I don't know. I wanted to like this series so much. Yeah, there's stuff that happens that can be somewhat mildly entertaining, but it just doesn't do it for me. It doesn't do it for me. Something about it, I believe boils down to the fact that the story skips too far ahead in time to where there's some kind of sense of urgency to where you would bond with these characters in such a way, and that takes me out of the story completely. So
yeah, when they jump ahead, any story that jumps ahead like that, you don't have the time to invest in it. That's kind of a shame, and I think, I'm sure it's part of it is, limited space. They probably know they only got those 5 issues or whatever to do it in. So to tell the main thing that they want to tell, they have to do this, great jumping and whatnot. It's kind of nuts as opposed to getting a long story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Did you read Savage Things?
I didn't get to that, unfortunately. Tell me what I missed.
It's a good issue. I mean, this book just reads like an action, like a nonstop action movie is really how the book reads. We find out whether or not, the woman was killed because the bomb exploded in the last issue. Then we get an interesting moment where Abel makes the decision as to whether he's going to go after Cain or if he's going to, see if the woman is dead, kind of a thing. He makes a moral decision, which is interesting because these guys have been kind of billed as being totally desensitized to not. I mean, they're all sociopaths. They don't care, and I think maybe he does because I don't see any value in keeping her alive, and checking to see if she's dead or not. That doesn't fulfill his goals. So why would he do that unless he's not a true sociopath? So, which is kind of interesting. They're close. They're in New York. The power is out. Chaos is starting to ensue because for whatever reason, if the lights go out in New York, everybody has to go outside and be crazy. The bad guys are running through the city. They start killing cops, which of course adds to the chaos. So then the police are trigger happy and whatnot. By the end of the book, our main bad guy has killed a few policemen, and he's on the radio and he's describing our main characters as being the assailants that are killing police. And right now they're standing in they're trying to explain that they're special agents, and they're standing in the middle of a whole bunch of, street policemen, with guns getting ready to go on them. So who knows how that's all going to pan out. But the whole issue is action fighting. They do take the group of crazy soldiers that are wreaking havoc on New York for punishment for the government, basically abandoning them. This one guy, he's wearing the bulletproof armor, that they typically military would wear. He's wearing the equivalent but he's wearing like a hockey mask kind of a thing too. So, you just randomly shoot at him, he grunts, but it doesn't take him out kind of thing. And he's got 2 axes and he's just chopping the daylights out of people. So they end up fighting him a whole bunch and, to fight him. And it's a pretty brutal fight. They end up gouging his eyes out to get him to slow down enough where they can actually kill him. But it was cool. It was an exciting issue. I mean, not tons happen as far as deep thought, but very exciting as far as just being an action, comic kind of a thing. So, yeah.
No, one thing I can say about the series, I can really see it playing out as a film.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's so action heavy, I can see this being very enjoyable for people, for the masses, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, because basically the premise is you have an FBI agent. She gets teamed up with a special ops guy who's been kind of underground, who is part of this kind of crazy training kind of a thing. And they're out hunting down his fellow trainees that have been special ops for a long time. The government decides they're a loose end and they need to get rid of them. They do a drone strike on them that does not kill them. And so these special ops who are trained, basically psychopaths, have come to New York and they're just going to wreak havoc on the city, on the government to pay them back for, kind of abandoning them, which is perfect primer for an action movie. As they hunt them down while they do their reign of terror. So, yeah. For sure.
Yep.
What else you got, Rez? Anything else?
This is my last book, Eternal Empire, issue number 2, Image book.
Right. This is the
Alex creators.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep. Jonathan Luna and Sarah Vaughn. So we're already at issue 2. We kind of, the last end of this issue is what we ended off. It kind of goes full circle from what we ended on last issue, where the one girl, she somehow gets this calling to go towards the warmth. She's getting tired of being a slave. This is one kingdom. Same for this guy. He's from another part of the town, or another area. He's a slave himself, and he's trying to follow the warmth. Eventually, these two meet, and they figure that they have some kind of fire power where they harness fire somehow. They don't know why, but when they're trying to fight the guards who are trying to take them back to their respective kingdoms, they somehow figures out that when she puts our hands together, she forms a fire sword, and apparently they get beam fire from the eyes. I don't know what this book is about. It's so slow in revealing what it's about, and I just know it's about these kingdoms that are fighting almost 1,000-year war. You know, they're finally coming towards the last end of this war for the kingdom. They have tons of slaves. They treat them brutally. It feels like it's Romanesque type of story, but with people who have have firepower harnessing within them. I say I'm really interested, to be honest. Like I feel bored talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't care.
Yeah, and see, that's kind of hard for me. I didn't read Alex and Ada in single issues. I read it in trade. I was kind of intrigued by the idea, but I wasn't necessarily sold on the art. I really liked Alex and Ada, but I have to admit, when I first started reading it, I wouldn't have made it past issue 2 if I was reading it in singles.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because the pacing on it is kind of a slow burn, and it sounds like that's what this is gonna be. And that's why everybody's like, "Oh, you didn't pick that up? You know, Alex and Ada was so great. Why didn't you pick that up?" And that's kind of why I didn't pick it up. I have a feeling that I'll just wait and I'll get it in trade, and I'm hoping that I will like whatever it is in trade. But then I can just sit down, and when it's that slow pacing to start out with, I can just read through it to get to where it starts to be something, hopefully, kind of a thing. So I don't know. I don't know if that's a character trait of these creators, or if that's a problem with this book in particular is worse or not. I don't know.
I feel like I guess it would be kind of cool. It would be all right, the pacing, if it was like a web comic or something. Like you're waiting on a weekly basis for more story. Like this format fits really well with a web comic, but doesn't fit so well translated into a periodical that's monthly for me personally. So I'm not really hard. I'm like hard pressed to continue on.
Sure.
Yeah, again, I'm feeling the same way you feel when you're saying that it may get better once it wraps up into a trade, which is what I feel like Image markets a lot of their series to do anyways. Is for you to, not necessarily, if you're not going to invest, they know a majority of the audience is waiting for the trade to come out. They know a lot of people are into collecting those trades, those hardcovers. So with the crowd and get the trade, but yeah. This single issue biz is not doing it for me. Yeah. For that story.
Sure. Alrighty. Last book for me, Baltimore and the Red Kingdom, issue number 5. And it is the end.
Dun dun dun.
I mean, the end. I don't think there's any more Baltimore after this. I think it's done. I think the character's gone. 41 issues, basically, what this comes out to. And it's done. He gets to the Red King at the end of it. There's a mighty battle, and they basically kind of take each other out. He wins and looks to the heavens and goes, what next? Because he's technically been dead for probably 20 issues. He's just been moving along on this, this kind of fake heart and magic or mechanical or however it works, no one really knows. He's just been charging forward, and it basically drops out of his body at the end of the book. I think it's done. I wasn't sure because the way they've been kind of talking about the Mignola universe and whatnot, like he was going to quit comics, and then I'm not sure that he's really quitting comics. I think he's still kind of helping write them and stuff. So I kind of wondered with this. I wasn't sure if this was the end of it all, but it felt really final because this whole run. This whole 5-issue series. It's been a massive battle across all of Europe. Half of Europe is wearing red, and they're half zombie, half vampires charging across the countryside. And the other half is the Brits and stuff like that, barely hanging on, trying to fight them off. So all the way along, I've kind of felt like, gee, this feels really, really final. But I haven't read anything in any back matter telling me that this was going to be the end. But it says the end, and they're standing over his grave. So it seems to me it's probably the end, which is unfortunate. I really like Baltimore. I like the character. I like the setting and stuff. But, Who knows? Maybe they'll come back to it at some point.
So was it a solid 41 issues then? I mean, was it strong all the way through, or there were times like a whole run that you were not excited about?
This was probably what I liked the least. This miniseries, this end of it, the Red Kingdom. The last one was okay also. But before that, they were really good.
Right.
They were especially really good up until the point where he finishes off the vampire that kills his family. Because his motivation to start out with is he's off in the Great War, and while he's off in the Great War, his family's killed by a vampire. He finds out his family's killed by a vampire, so he goes vampire hunting, and basically as he's vampire hunting, he puts down a crap load of other monsters as he's trying to find the vampire that wiped out his family. That's his goal, and he reaches that goal and takes out that vampire, and he's mortally wounded, but he's still upright and alive, and he can't figure out why that is, and clearly there's a bigger cause. And then he kind of catches wind that there's this Red King, this much more powerful being that's kind of like the grandfather of all of this evil. And so he figures, well, that must be what it is. That must be what I have to go and hunt down. And that's what he starts on. Anything pre that is, in my opinion, is really good. There's some single shot issues that are literally just kind of one and done, kind of a thing, that are just amazing. There's a story where he is stuck inside of a tank for half of an issue, where he's just sitting inside this tank. There's monsters around him, trying to figure out what he's going to do, which is a great story. There's another single issue story about a woman whose husband has come back from the war, except he really hasn't. And he has this really emotional conversation with her about releasing him so he can actually go away and actually be dead. I mean, because he's like zombie corpses there. So it's not a, an action issue at all. It's all just emotional and conversation. That issue is probably particularly really good because I believe Mignola actually does the artwork in it too. So it's got that kind of amazing, his style of artwork in it, which made it really good. So I really enjoyed it all the way along. Now, I haven't read the very beginning of it. I still don't have the first issues for there's two, 4 or 5 issues that I don't, arcs are the very beginning. I don't have those. I just need to get either I've been thinking about buying them in trade, but I keep putting it off thinking, well, I'm going to find them somewhere in single issues because I own the rest of it in single issues. So I kind of like to have the whole run. So I've been kind of waiting to just read that. It was just a book. I just decided one day I'm going to jump on this and see what it is. And it is a book that's easy to jump into, except for this, because this is the end. And so it's kind of tying up all these loose ends. So it's a little more difficult. A lot of characters suddenly show up. And if you don't have any frame of references to the arc, it's just some kind of crazy cool priest swinging a sword. You don't know really what they're about. But if you had read the issues 15 issues ago, you'd have read the arc that he was in to know just how messed up he is too. So yeah. But like all the Mignola universe kind of stuff, I really enjoy that. Anyway, I enjoy that genre a lot. So yeah.
I enjoyed the novel.
Yeah. I haven't read that either. I need to check that out. So, And that's it. That's it for books that I read. I had 3 books this week that I haven't gotten to yet, but nothing of real noteworthy in that. So, well, other than Stray Bullets. Stray Bullets is one of the books that I haven't read. I typically don't read it, talk about during the show because it's hard to talk about. It's hard to talk about the show. Love the book. It's always awesome. I can tell you that before I even read it, that it's going to be a great issue, but hard to kind of talk about without people understanding the whole thing. So, yeah. So, any indie-ish kind of news or anything like that? But I don't know. I can't think of anything.
I mean, it came out this week, but one of my favorite books of all time came out. Was reprinted by Shannon Wheeler. Too Much Coffee Man.
Coffee Man. Yeah, huge, right? It's like oversized, isn't it? Like a big, giant, oversized thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's the same size as the prior one, which I have, which I love. I did like a video on it, like a long video. dedicating to Too Much Coffee Man, which if anybody who has been rocking with me from the beginning knows I'm like a huge Too Much Coffee Man fan. So if you haven't ever read any of the Too Much Coffee Man comics, which I own all of them except 3 of them, the special like self-published mini comics that are worth a ton, which I will find one day. But yeah, get that omnibus because it's like it has almost everything in there. I love it. I mean, I love Too Much Coffee Man. It's honestly worth getting. It's if you love very poignant social kind of kind of if you like stuff like that, then go ahead and get it for sure. If you like commentary, like social commentary, and you like conversations about life, depression, anxiety, coffee, things like that, then get it because it has a lot of tropes on superhero comics that just really, really kind of reel you in. So I'm a huge, extreme fanatic of that series. And I think anybody who reads it will enjoy it. I think I've gotten a few people into it. I know LaRosa went and got her the omnibus, and she says she really enjoyed it. So happy that I can make a recommendation, and then people get it and then they like it. So it always makes me feel happy. So hopefully somebody out there as well jumps into it and gets it and loves it just as much as I do. So, yeah, that's the biggest news for me.
And you can't go wrong with buying the big old omnibuses, right? I mean, that's just the way to go. If you're gonna do it, go big, go big.
Yep. Or go home, right?
Yeah.
Right on. Alrighty. I don't have anything else, so I guess we're done. Thank you guys for coming on and chatting books as always. We're gonna have to twist Mike's arm and get him to buy some more books. So
next week I got some more coming. So.
Yeah. I haven't even looked to see what's coming next week, but I'm assuming if yours is bigger, then that means mine's gonna be disgustingly big. So yeah. So I would assume we'll be back next week. I don't have any plans that tell me I'm not going to be. So until then, thank you all for tuning in and watching the show. Always appreciate it as always. Check out these other people. If you're watching my channel, you should be checking out these people's channels too. Their videos aren't, well, Rez's are long-winded sometimes. Mike's aren't. Mike keeps his short. Not that there's anything long-winded because I'm all about making the long videos. But I know some people are gun shy to watch a long video. But anyway, you should be checking out the other people that are on the show. As always, if you made it clear to the end of this, if you're interested in being on the show, just hit me up. We'll figure out how to get you on. More than likely, unless you're some psycho person, and then you probably wouldn't be watching the show. So anyway, until next time. Have a great night. Have a great day. Have a great morning. And read more comics.
Yep.
It's closing time.